Alright, welcome to Tales from the Black Tower, a solo D&D game currently following Tobias Vandermill, Human Wizard. My name is Body, and I'll be your player dungeon master for today. When last we left our adventurer, he and Morning's Breath had just paid their toll past a hobgoblin and a goblin that were demanding a toll in the forest outside of their destination, which is some sort of the best description that some sort of witch's hut. That's the best description that Morning's Breath was able to provide to Tobias in advance in the last session. So we have the next scene that we are thinking, approaching the witch's hut, that we are thinking is going to be in line. I think after the last session, which did not go chaotically at all, I think chaos went down to chaos level 4, but in doing so, we need to be rolling the d10 on the fate chart to see if we have an interrupt scene or an altered scene. So we've got even scenes. An even roll of 4 or below will be an interrupt scene, and a odd roll of 4 or below will be an altered scene. On the d10. Oh, there's a 2. So we've got an interrupt scene. So on the way, so this is one of the interesting things about the Mythic GM Emulator system, is that I had this idea for a scene, the next scene, what we thought we were going to be seeing. Like, we've got this, the witch's hut that I generated here, that I thought would be the picture of the thing that we're going to be approaching. But because when you start a scene, you roll a d10, compare it to the fate chart, you have a chance to have something get in the way and something else happen. So now what we have instead is we are going to be rolling a d100 a couple times in order to find out what this random event is happening. Because that's what happens when you have an interrupt scene. You have a random event that basically cuts you off before you're able to get to the scene that you thought you were going to be going to. And that's why, like, things generally get more interesting when the chaos number gets higher, because it's easier to roll that interrupt or altered scene when you start it. So here we have a event focus. This is a random event, and the focus is going to be a d20 or a 20. It's an NPC action. Okay. All right, and then we have 2 more d100 rolls for the action and the subject of this. So some NPC is taking an action, and the action is 69. The action is ruin, and the subject of the action, the subject of the random event, which is an action, is 83, which is riches. Okay, so one of the things we have with the Mythic Emulator is the cast functionality, where we have all of these player characters or NPCs that we have to choose from. These are people we've met along the way, people maybe that we've just heard of, who have some sort of effect on the universe as we know it. So it says NPC action, so I'm thinking that's going to be not Tobias, because Tobias is our player character. Tobias is our main character. But then the question is Morning's Breath an NPC? I think at this point, I think he's still an NPC. Yeah. So we've got Tobias the Wise, we've got Morning's Breath, Snowgo, Kazz, and Deilian. So we've got these 5. So we're going to roll a d10 to determine which one of those 5 are the NPC taking an action. And this might not even be something that, you know, we are aware of. Because that's one of the interesting things about interrupt scenes, is that depending on the way the random event happens, it's treated like a movie where you're like cutting away from the main action. You're seeing this other thing happen that adds context to the main storyline. So that's the interest. So that's what we're going to see right here. We're going to roll a d10. and it is 8. So that is going to be the 4th of the PCs. As 1, 2, 3, 4. So Kazz, the Dragonborn Thief, takes an action that ruins riches. And you know what I think happens is Kazz ruins riches. The last we saw of him, he was being captured by Deilian, the silver dragon, because Kazz had stolen something from his hoard. Or had stolen an artifact. We don't know that it was from his hoard. We sort of presume that... my thinking was that we presumed that Deilian had taken Kazz back to his hoard for imprisonment or punishment or murder. I don't know, for being unalived, as the kids say these days. So the question is then, okay, we have Kazz does something to ruin riches, presumably the riches of Deilian. So was... I think, yeah, I don't even think that needs to be rolled. That's something. That's just the way it is. Yeah, he's ruining riches of Deilian, and we're just now finding out about it. So the question is this something that is affecting Tobias and Morning's Breath right now? I think that's 50-50. We don't know, and that on a 4 chaos, that's a 35%. So no, this is something that's happening off camera. But we're sort of understanding it from a DM perspective. Realistically, I think this is gonna inform a new thread that our characters could interact with later. So what I'm thinking happens is this something that does Kazz? Hold on, I need to make a note of Kazz. It is Kazz. Is Kazz escaping? I think that's likely. I understand that, silver dragons are pretty strong creatures, but I think it's likely. I can't really say it's very likely, but I think it's likely, which is going to be a 55% chance that Kazz is escaping and doing something. Is he escaping? 63, no. So Kazz doesn't escape, and what that says to me is that he sees his captured by Deilian as something like, okay, he's not, Deilian is not happy. Kazz sort of assumes that Deilian is going to be killing him, and he's just as punishment, if not, like, probably killing, maybe imprisonment for a long time. So what I think is happening is Kazz is not escaping, but Kazz is going to be taking it out on Deilian and his hoard somehow. The question is, how is he doing that? And I think, how is he ruining Deilian's riches? Right? Because that's a dragon hoard. And ruining, I like the term ruin because it's not as if it's getting stolen. He's corrupting it somehow. Oh, okay, there we go. That gave me a thought. We know that Kazz is a cleric, right? So clerics are magic users, obviously. And what I'm thinking is, and this is because these aren't player characters, we don't really interact with them. So what I'm thinking is, Kazz, when he was taken back to the lair of Deilian, he is presuming that he's not going to be long for this world, and instead of going softly into that, sort of accepting his punishment, he sort of has this righteous indignation about what he did and why he did it. Like he didn't think he was doing anything wrong, something along those lines, and so he is going to actually attempt to, I don't know if it's cursing, because I don't know if clerics can actually curse things, as far as like officially being D&D rules and the curse spell. But he's going to attempt to ruin the treasure hoard of Deilian by some sort of divine magic from his god. So we need to determine a couple things. First of all, like what god is, like What's the alignment of Kazz? Like, we don't actually know that. So we've got like a 1 to 9, right? We've got lawful good all the way down to lawful evil. We don't know if he was good or evil. So I think we roll a d10 and take 1 through 9 as valid results, and to see, we could do that, or we could sort of just randomly choose the Forgotten Realms deity list. I think it's more interesting to do it by alignment and then choose the specific deity. So that's what we're doing. It's a 4, which is going to be lawful good. That's going to be chaotic neutral. Kazz is we've learned that Kazz is chaotic neutral. All right, so we've got a couple options. I'm pretty sure we're gonna have a couple options here. Chaotic neutral, chaotic neutral. We've got Lyra, goddess of illusion. We've got Mask, god of thieves. And that's it. There's 2. And okay, so what we're gonna do is right now we're gonna ask, is Kazz of the same alignment as his deity? I think that's 50-50. I'm leaning. I sort of lean towards likely, but we're just gonna go with 50-50 for that. You know what? I'm gonna say it's likely. 55, because realistically, there's a decent chance that he's not, but realistically, he is probably 7. Not only that, but hell yes, he is exactly the same alignment. And so we have our 2 options. Lyra, illusion, goddess of illusion, and Mask. Honestly, I don't. Again, I was gonna roll. This is one of the cool things about the way things sort of work out sometimes in a solo D&D game. It's like, wait a second, we know that Kazz came into this world, as far as we understand, via stealing something. And now we've got 2 options with the chaotic neutral, illusion and thievery. Like, of course, he's going to be a cleric of Mask. And that's only reinforced by the fact that we got a hell yes on this roll, as far as, is he the same alignment as his deity, or is the deity the same alignment as him? So, and it's this is the kind of thing that gives me chills, and it's just like, oh, it's just so it's fun how things line up. But all right, so now that we know he's a chaotic neutral cleric of Mask, the god of thieves, the question is, how does he ruin the riches? And the thing, like, Mask, god of thieves, his domain, the suggested domain is trickery. That's something that I like. I think that should inform the way this curse. I don't know that it's actually a curse. I might look. Hold on, let's look it up real quick to see if clerics can curse things. I really don't think they can, but maybe. I haven't played a cleric high enough. I know they can what, Gaius? I'm pretty sure they can remove curse, which is similar but different. Similar but opposite, even. Bestow curse. Okay, so they can. So clerics can bestow curse, and it's a 3rd level spell. I think Kazz was a level 2 when we interacted with him last, so we don't know that this isn't necessarily something he's casting directly. Maybe he's praying and hoping for Mask to bestow upon him the ability to ruin the riches of Deilian. But I think the answer here is clear. Mask, he's going what Kazz. Okay, so I've got 2 things in my head. One is so two things in my head that are informing this question. The one I'm going to ask is the curse bestowed by Mask, the god of thieves, is the curse to cause all of the riches, or at least a majority, a large amount of the riches of Deilian, is the curse to make them become invisible, so that maybe you could argue, so the Deilian has them, he can still sort of know and feel them, and they're in his hoard, but he can't see them, he can't revel in them the same way that he usually does. So is this the parting curse from Kazz and Mask? And I think this is likely. I think this is very likely, actually. So we got a 75% chance. 41. So yes. So the curse is Kazz and Mask have cursed Deilian's Hoard. And the question for me, so Deilian brings Kazz back to his lair in order to punish him in some way. We don't actually know how. That's not relevant currently. And as Kazz maybe has, let's say has been in deep prayer ever since being picked up by a Deilian. And actually, because this is something that Deilian didn't mention when he returned to Tobias in the forest and paid them for their services, this is something that happened after Deilian dropped him off at his lair. That's sort of immaterial at this point. It's just sort of a alignment of the story. But as Deilian was not there, what happened is Kazz and Mask cast a massive curse on Deilian's hoard, causing it to go invisible. The question that I have coming out of this, though, is, did Kazz also become cursed with invisibility? I think Mask is the god of thieves, and the trickery is the recommended domain. So I feel like this is something that, while this would be like the backlash, this is something that Mask would do in order to also have a little fun with Kazz himself, as sort of a playfulness, a way of having, sort of messing around with Kazz, and so it's not just something, you don't just get to have the benefits of your deity bestowed upon you with no sort of backlash. So I think the question is, did Kazz also become cursed with permanent invisibility as a result of this? I was initially thinking 50-50. I think this is likely, or somewhat likely. I think it's likely. I think it'd be fun. I'm leaning towards going to very likely because of how much fun I think it is. Actually, yeah, it's very likely. So we're going to say it's a 75% chance that Kazz is now cursed with permanent invisibility. And yes. Kazz, we as players, right, as Tobias and as Morning's Breath, don't know this. But as the DM, we sort of know, we're able to understand this now, is that Kazz is now invisible. Kazz, Dragonborn Thief, cursed with invisibility. We've got this in our threads and cast. And actually, I think this reopens, because we didn't even really know if Kazz was still alive. He'd gotten taken away, and Deilian returned. But now we know that Kazz is invisible. Kazz. Okay, so we're gonna make a note of it in the threads of Deilian's invisible hoard, and then here in our cast, Dragonborn Thief, invisibility curse. Right? And I think that sort of closes up all of the threads with this little interrupt scene. Things that getting in the way of the scene that I thought was going to be happening. And I think that's basically it. It's, again, this is one of those things where literally nothing even happened to Tobias and Morning's Breath, but it's still something that, oh, now this is something that informs the rest of the world. It's some sort of substantive event that happened to Kazz and Deilian that can inform future actions. And this is one of the things that I find really interesting about sort of the Mythic GM Emulator system, is that it's very good at, you know, having an active world that changes dynamically. And it's like, well, if this didn't happen, I mean, we might never see Kazz again and just presume him dead after a while and take him off of the cast. And now, if we ever see Deilian again for whatever reason, we have a really a good reason for him to be motivated in one direction or another. So I think that's it for now. Next, because that's an interrupt scene, we're not going to have another interrupt scene. The next scene I believe we're going to be going into is Tobias and Morning's Breath approaching the witch's hut ? We don't know if it's a witch's hut yet at this point, really. But yeah, until next time.